Today's episode is going to end very, very differently than all previous episodes and probably all subsequent episodes. And you'll just have to stay tuned to find out how. Good morning and welcome to My Daily Walk, the daily half-hour podcast where an anonymous Hollywood guy talks and walks and talks about anything and everything except things he is contractually obligated to conceal. I'm working on it. That intro definitely needs a little work, but it's unfolding. One of these days I'll just be rattling it off like second nature because I'll have said it so many times. Well, that's the optimistic. That's the optimist in me. Assuming that I'm going to continue this and want to continue this and be able to continue this and even live long enough to continue this. None of us know what tomorrow brings, but I expect to keep doing this. Sure, I wake up and there are days I don't feel like getting out of bed and don't feel like doing my morning run, and don't feel like necessarily talking for a half an hour. Sure, those days happen, but we shouldn't live our lives based on how we feel. Don't make decisions based on the feeling in the moment. That is dangerous, and a lot of bad things happen when people do that. They act upon emotion, momentary emotion. So discipline, I'm trying to discipline myself to do the things I should do regardless of how I feel. There. Success in life. All right, actually that kind of reminds me of what I want to do today. Yesterday I was talking about some themes, some ideas for this podcast, this My Daily Walk. Let me start by, if this is your first time listening, My Daily Walk has an email address where you can reach out if you heard something that you want me to expound upon, or if you have something I haven't talked about that you think I might have an interesting take on. Email me at MyDailyWalk@thiswaytv.com. There, the plug is done. Where was I going? Oh, so structurally, I think today's Tuesday, Thursdays will be thematic, and I think Tuesdays may be thematic, and Fridays. I've thought of a couple of things. So Thursdays will be Hollywood stories from the Hollywood guy, I guess. Some of my personal experiences working in this town. Then I'm thinking Tuesdays, and I mentioned this yesterday, I'm thinking Tuesdays may be life lessons. And so I have a personal story unrelated to Hollywood, just a personal life story that I don't know. I haven't thought through it enough to say, and here's the lesson. But I think as we listen to stories, we take our own lessons from things. So maybe there'll be something in this story that speaks to you, or not. Maybe just find it amusing, entertaining, or boring as heck. So I think that'll be Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays I'm going to keep as topical, just a different topic. And so tomorrow's topic is going to be bloodlust. That's it. I'm just going to say bloodlust. Fridays, I'm not sure if that's the day for this, but I had the thought of covering or touching upon or thematically approaching and dissecting and expounding and speculating on a passage from like holy writings, whether it's the Old Testament, New Testament, maybe there's some other sacred writing that speaks a universal truth. I'm of the opinion that all truth is, regardless of the source, truth should be listened to, truth should be adhered to, and I think every human has access to truth. Not everything everyone says obviously is truth. Well, let's not go in that direction, but I think so. Maybe like I'll do a spiritual meditation on Fridays, maybe, or maybe they'll be Mondays. I don't know, but that's a thought. So in that regard, I have 4 days planned out. We've got Life Lesson Tuesday, Topical Wednesday, Hollywood Guy Thursday, and Spiritual Meditation Friday or Monday. Maybe Friday will just be play it by ear, random, extemporaneous, and Monday it'll be, maybe we'll switch around, who knows. But, so, if you're new to the podcast, which most of you are because the podcast is brand new, but there'll be a lot of this, figuring things out as we go. So, the life story I thought about talking about today. We'll see how far into this story we get. I think I'll be able to cover all of it in the remaining time. Well, before I do, let me just say I found another place to walk. Well, full disclosure, I have to be somewhere. I have to be somewhere, and my time is very constrained right now, so I have to get out of here like punctually to get to where I need to be. And so I drove to another place to walk around that I knew would be nice and secluded and quiet. It's a park, and this is just a gorgeous park, and it is exactly what I hoped. It's a gorgeous day, and it's a wide open field. I did see somebody walking a dog and a jogger running by, but it's beautiful seclusion. All right, let's get to this story. So, it was a time in my life when I was in transition. Let's see how many of the specific details I give and how much of it I can just skip past, because I tend to babble on and ramble on and run out of time or bore people with unimportant details. So I was in transition. I had moved to a new city, a new state, started a job, and I didn't know anybody in town. And then I met a friend at work, one guy that I would hang out with. We'd go out, drink on weekends or whatever. And one night we're at the mall. Just he and I are going to hang out, and that's where the chicks are, I guess. And we were at this mall, and he spots this girl. And so, I'm going along, tagging along. The girl's with another girl. I'm like, oh, she's kind of cute too. But he had his eyes on this one girl, and so as sometimes it goes when you're the wingman and there's a wing woman or wing girl or whatever, you kind of get paired up by default. That sort of happened. I would say we walked around the mall for a while, just following them. Creepy. No, I mean, it's normal. It's just the way this thing happens, this mating ritual, the human mating procedure. Anyway, so he was hot for this girl. It wasn't literally, I think the mall was closing. Just turned out that they had parked in the same parking lot. We followed them just out the mall and into the parking lot right near where we parked. And so he finally got up the nerve to go up to them and talk. And I was just like, yeah, hey, hi. And they exchanged information. And up close, this other girl, she's really, really cute. And I'm like, wow. And I was always never thought I had a shot at. I mean, I always, and to this day, I don't. Some might say it's a false humility. Like I don't feel like I'm anything great. For lack of a better term, I never really thought I'm like the most attractive guy, and I've never walked around with a chip on my shoulder. I don't know, whatever the phrase is. But to people think I'm handsome. It's weird to say that. I'm just saying what people say. But I never felt like it. I never felt like I was handsome. I'm just a kid going through life, or a man going through life. And so this girl is really, really cute. I'm like, no chance. So that's it. They exchange numbers. We part ways. I don't know, a month later, a couple weeks later, he's telling me, yeah, I hooked up with that girl. I'm like, okay. I didn't go anywhere, but they went out or something. Then some time goes by, and I find myself in another, like, I had been new to the town, didn't know many people, but after living there a while, you start finding the social circles to hang out. Lo and behold, I get into this one social circle where this girl I met at the mall, she's there. And I'm like, whoa, okay, so there she is. And just as beautiful as ever. And I don't know if she recognized me or not. We didn't really. Yeah, she did. And we chatted, and she was friendly, and we even worked together on something. There was like some project she wanted help with, and I helped her with it. And so we had some one-on-one time. I mean, nothing, wasn't romantic or anything. I was just like personally mystified and awed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm hanging out with this girl alone. She's way too good for me. That's honestly how I felt. And nothing came of it at that point. Then I go away to college. And I come back for a visit. This place where I was living had become kind of my home base. And I went away to college for a year, came back, went away for my second year. So it's coming back to visit spring break, I think it was. Spring break of my second year of college. Come back. I think it was before I came back. I had been talking with somebody on the phone back home, and they had been mentioning this girl. And I don't know what was behind it, but somehow it was being orchestrated for us to hang out when I came back for spring break. I'm like, yeah. I don't know if I spoke to her specifically on the phone beforehand, or if it was when I got there. And was, home for a week. And the first night that I was back, we hung out, and I just couldn't believe it that we were on a date, in that that I was like, she was giving me the time of day in a romantic way. Like she it was clear that she was interested in me, and that was, I was in this kind of, it was like an out-of-body experience. I was like, this is bliss. This is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, and so, because I was out of town. My vehicle was out of town. She was driving, so she's dropped me off at where I was staying. And I'm in this headspace. And it felt like it was mutual. The conversation was going so well. And I don't fully understand why this happened or why I said these words, but I'm telling you, it was our first date, and I asked her to marry me. All right, so I have to get somewhere, and so this is what I meant. This episode would not end the way they normally end. I walked for the first half of it, but now I got to drive. So I am going to be driving and finishing, and hopefully I'll be able to look and turn it off in time, get through the rest of the story. So here we go. Let me set this recording device in a spot. All right. Make sure I know where I'm going. All right. So where did I leave off? I know exactly where I left off. Yeah, I'm back from college, spring break of my second year, and I have a first date with this girl that I'd always thought was way out of my league, and the date goes beautifully, and I don't mean like we didn't make out, we didn't have sex, you know, I was at that point in my life, that's not what I was interested in. I was interested in getting to knowing a person, and that's how the date went. We just talked and had a great conversation, and I felt like, wow, I don't understand. This must be what it's like to find the one. And so I said, I may have even said, I love you. I may have said that. I think I might have. I might have said, I love you. Will you marry me? In fact, I'm pretty sure I did. And she said, yes. See, okay, so it's not just me. It I don't know. She must have seen me as a catch. I don't know. I guess. Why would she say yes? Why would I? So we were on the same page, and that's crazy. Yeah, admittedly, that is crazy as it gets. But it's reality. It happened. So, needless to say, the rest of my stay, we were together every day. And you can put a beat to that and rap it. Needless to say, the rest of my stay, we were together every day. And then I went back to school. And the school I was at, and this was a time before cell phones, before smartphones, before cell phones, and I was staying in a dorm that had one phone. It had a payphone. Gosh. And so the only time I could talk to her, it was like once, maybe twice a week. It was literally that bad, and it drove her nuts. So a little bit of background on her. She, being just this gorgeous girl, she had suitors, male suitors, probably for quite some time, since she was probably an early teen. I mean, she was a beautiful girl. And I know for a fact she had dated, had relationships. And then here I come into her life and she's engaged. Oh, let me back up a little bit. I got a ring as well, like the next day, and it was given to me. It was like I mentioned what had happened, and this person goes, "Oh, you need a ring here." This person just had a ring. This is a kind of an authority figure in my life, and just happened to have one. Come into my office. Here you go. What? And it was legit. It was a nice ring, and she accepted it, and boom, we were engaged. So then I'm back at college, and I can only talk to her like for an hour a week, at 2 hours a week at the most. And for me, there was certainly a difficulty, but being a creative guy, a poetic, I would write to her. I may have written her a poem or a song or something, but I didn't have a relationship up, and I didn't have very many relationships very many romantic relationships up to that point. So it wasn't difficult for me to not be able to talk to her every day, but apparently it was really, really difficult for her. I don't remember that she let on to that fact much, but about 10 weeks in, or toward the end of the semester, 7 or 8 weeks, however many weeks of college there are after spring break at this school, I don't remember, but it seemed like it was like 7 to 10 weeks. Maybe the 10-week thing is, well, let me just say, one day, and the semester was over, but I had a job that I had to finish as well, and so that's probably it. I stayed in the dorm for another couple weeks after the semester was over, and so I remember being in the dorm alone and having a little more access to the phone, but let me just cut to the chase. She had a change of heart. It was just, I don't know, getting to know me and being separated. Like, this, maybe something in my personality or my character. Not maybe, I seem to recall her pointing out, "Oh, you're selfish," or you're self-centered. That's probably what it was. All you do is talk about yourself. Something along those lines, which, guilty as charged. She wasn't the first one to say that, and she wasn't the last one to say that, and she won't. And there will be others. And if you're listening to this, maybe you disagree. No, I like when you just talk about yourself. Maybe this podcast is just therapy for me to get over that. But she had a change of heart. And I was devastated. I was devastated. This was it. This was the one God had chosen for me. And it was all meant to be our first meeting and then first encounter, and then that second encounter, and then this is all confirmation. Like, this is the will of God in my life. Wrong answer. It was not. You cannot force someone to like you or love you. You just can't do it. It's out of your hands. You can behave in ways that are attractive, but you can't guarantee someone's going to respond. And then once And then if someone has responded and is drawn to you and then has a change of heart, that is extremely painful, but you better get over it quickly. I bawled my eyes out. And it was good that I was so far away, several states removed, so that I couldn't just go be a stalker and pound on her door at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was isolated and without anybody else in the dorm. There might have been one or two other people, but it was like I am alone with my pain. Gosh, that was painful. I think I did write a song or a poem or two in that, wallowing in that misery. But looking back, I am so grateful for her change of heart. I cannot explain why in that moment, at the end of that first date, sitting in the car, pulled up to where I was staying, finishing our conversation, not wanting the night to end, something comes over me. I interpret all the signs to mean that this is it. And I asked her to marry me, and she says yes. What? What was that about? What? She said yes. I'm impulsive and crazy. Yes, I understand that. But she said yes. She didn't even hesitate. There was no awkward, okay. None of that. We were on the same page. Thinking we were meeting our destiny in one another, and circumstances changed, and she looked differently at the circumstances than I did. Clearly, it was not a scenario she was going to be okay with, and I was not in any position to support a family. I was only in my second year of college, and not even thinking really about career. That's just where I was in life, and so I am eternally grateful for her change of heart, because my life went in many different directions, and if I was married to her, it would have, the obligations that would have immediately presented themselves. Like, when you get married, you have many, many, many obligations now. You are not your own. You don't get to go do whatever you want to do. You have to confer. You have to run it by the partner. Period. That's what marriage is. You are no longer your own. You've joined purposes with another person. And not that there's anything wrong with the purposes she has, but for me personally, in my life, the direction that my life has gone since then, I'm very, very grateful for the life. I've had plenty of pain after that as well, and plenty of confusion and stress, but plenty of other joyous moments. And I eventually did find the one, and I am eternally grateful for it. So, if there's some life lesson that you can derive from my impulsive interpretation of butterflies in my belly, perhaps you can email me what you learned from my hard-learned lesson. I'm just grateful that I wasn't destroyed by it. I was made stronger by it, I believe. So, I'm not walking, I'm driving, so I cheated on today's daily walk.